Hi, welcome to How to Repair. This video is on a Bosch standard fridge freezer. It's a twin compressor unit and the circuit board has blown. Now the circuit board is going to cost, if you want to put a genuine circuit board on, is going to cost you in excess of £80 to £90 plus fitting. What we're going to do is replace the circuit board with two Elitech ECS-16Rs. They operate a single compressor on a switching relay. This then becomes a digital thermostat. The thermostat will then control the temperature in the fridge, and the second unit will control the temperature in the freezer. I'm going to show you how to install these. Now the great advantage with this is you're going to be able not only to run the fridge as a digitally controlled thermostat, you're also going to be able to decide whether you want to use the freezer as a fridge or a freezer, because the thermostat has a capability of going way below -50 and controls way above +50, so you can actually decide what temperature you want in the bottom compartment, and that can be either a fridge or a freezer. Anyway, let's get on with the job and show you how to work out the electrics and fit the units. This is how the fridge freezer will look after we've done the conversion. I'm just quickly going to run you through what we're going to be doing. Now, at the moment we only have a sensor for each compressor. The thermostat actually controls the compressor for the fridge and also controls the compressor for the freezer. I'm going to show you how to wire these up. I'm also going to show you how to fit a completely new sensor in the fridge side. And because the cabling's slightly short on the freezer side, I'm going to show you how to solder connection the new thermostat for the freezer compartment and also do the connection on the actual thermostat itself. All the thermostats come with a complete manual. They're very easy to use. The manuals are quite complicated, but I will be doing another video to show you how to set up the controllers once they are installed. But let's get on with the repair. So before I take the panel off to actually cut my holes into the panel here to fit our electronic thermostats, I'm going to actually use a template which I've got for these thermostats, and I'm going to line up the markings for the hole. Then we'll take this off, we'll look at the electrics and work out which is the feed coming from each compressor, and we'll also check any other electrics that have got to be disconnected or bypassed. So first things first is I'm going to mark up. I'm leaving enough space here to leave these buttons in, although they're not going to be used. Trying to get it reasonably central. I've already checked inside the compartment when I was actually diagnosing the problem with this machine, and there is enough space on this model of machine to drop the thermostats in. We've got to cut a bit of plastic, but once we get these two cut out and lined up, we'll be able to go further. So I've already removed the screw here. We have another screw here which we need to take out. Then there's the plastic lug, just a cap. Now the circuit board is ready to come off. Just carefully prise the panel off, and there we go. Now I've already removed the covers when I was diagnosing it, but it's normally the circuit board is covered with a couple of covers. Now I've already done some pre-thinking on this on the wiring. We're going to remove the circuit board completely. This is what is at fault, and this will cost you about £80 to £90. I'm going to leave the lighting switch in, and I'm going to leave the on-off switch on the right hand side. This will not actually control the two electronic timers, but what it will do is give you the functionality to turn the light off in the fridge on a permanent basis, or having it work on the door sensor, so it would be down to your choice. It just makes the wiring easy. So I'm just going to disconnect the circuit board and the wiring on that side we're going to be using, but we're not going to be using the sensors. These are the thermostatic sensors that go to the fridge and the freezer, and we're not going to be using them. I'm going to remove the circuit board completely, and now I'm going to mark up the wires where they come from, or just take a photograph. I'm going to remove this, take it to my workbench, cut out the holes which we've marked here to fit the new thermostats, and we're going to do a little bit of cutting on this as well, but as you can see there is quite a bit of depth there for us to actually fit these thermostats. So let's get on with this. Make sure you take a picture of where the wires go if you're removing any wires. And now we're ready to go and cut our panel. We need to remove here, just using a small screwdriver, lift them up, and that part can come out. We're going to cut this just straight across here to remove all that. I'll just do that with my Dremel in a second. And this is quite sturdy, so I'm going to try and cut this with the jigsaw, as there is a hole in that one already, but I'm going to have to drill a hole in here. So let me just quickly drill a hole in there. So I've done the hole here, I've got a hole here, now I'm ready to cut with the jigsaw. So we've got one hole cut here. We'll just take off the mounting clips. Just a button you press on the side, they slide back. So we've actually cut our holes. I've had to use a Dremel just to cut out a little bit more space here. It's not the tidiest job in the world. And we're ready to fit our two thermostats. The left-hand one is going to be the freezer. And we need to stick our carriers on. This actually locks the device onto the panel. Just see it sliding down. Do the same on the other side. So we'll just drop the other one. We'll just drop the other one in. Bit of curvature on this panel, but there is a gasket behind. So we'll just drop. No. Again, all the way around. Now all we need to do is we're just going to silicone the old buttons into play just to cause some blanking plugs. They're not going to be used, but just to keep the panel looking tidy. So here we have the panel now, all set up, ready to go in place. We just need to do the wiring. First thing we need to do is actually get the sensors through to the back. We're going to put a sensor in the fridge and a sensor in the freezer, and these sensors come with the kit. So we've actually got to put a hole down through the freezer now to run the sensor to the freezer and to the fridge. So let's get on with that. The original sensors are actually put in before the foam is actually put into the fridge freezer. As you can see here, the wiring is actually in the foam itself. So I'm 100% confident that if I put a small hole into the plastic here, we'll be able to get into the foam and then I'm going to push a bar slowly through, making sure not to touch any pipes, and we're going to run the 2 sensors to the rear of the machine. Then we will take the sensors down the back of the machine, one coming into the fridge at the original point and one coming into the freezer. So let's get on with this and put the pilot hole in. I'm just going to use this marker here, and I'm only going to drill through the plastic. So I've managed to put a small hole in through the plastic here. Now I'm just going to slowly push a screwdriver down . The foam is quite dense, but I'm quite comfortable. There are no pipes in there at all. So I'm just going to use a little technique I've got some large threaded bar. I'm just going to put this onto the drill, and I'm going to turn it onto a slow speed. This removes some of the foam out. And there we go, we've gone through basically to the back of the machine now. I'll show you where we popped out, exactly where I was hoping to. The noise you can hear is the actual steel cage on the back, but let me just turn this round for you so you can see. Okay, we've come through here on the back of the fridge freezer, just below the steel work, which I was hoping. So I'm just going to keep bringing it backwards and forwards. Basically what we're doing now is just widening the foam hole. The reason I use a piece of bar like this, not a drill bit, is if I do touch one of the refrigeration pipes, which may be in the unit, I'm not actually going to cut a hole in it, I'm just going to actually hit it. But you will feel if any steel you hit. Pretty sure on the top of the cabinet, on most fridge freezers, there are no tubes, but I can't guarantee this. You have to use logic and work out where the pipework is in the fridge freezer. But that's now a nice hole all the way through, and we're ready to run our 2 cables, one for the fridge, and then we will go back into the fridge at the back, and one for the freezer. So first let's run the cables through. Now we've got that on. Just carefully wrap this onto the bar. And now we're ready to pull that through. Okay, here we have the original sensor. Behind here we have the sensor. Now, as I said, this is built into the foam work on the fridge freezer. If you need to replace this and running it to the additional, you'd be better off cutting and actually soldering on, but we're going to bypass it completely. Take it out of the way. I'm going to put a small hole in here, measure the distance from the cabinet, and then we're going to try and get from the back of the freezer into this hole. as you can see, I've only just gone through the plastic there. Now this is where it gets quite difficult. We've actually got to get through to the back, but because the side of the fridge freezer is steel, we're going to have to try and get some sort of curvature in there, so I'm going to have to make up a bent bar. Okay, I've carefully managed to get a hole through the foam to the back, and I've attached the probe. I've put a piece of plastic through and then taped it, and then I'm just going to pull the probe through, and there we go. Now on the freezer, it is possible for you to, I've replaced this sensor because I was suspect, because of the storm that took this circuit board out, I was suspect that the sensor itself was gone. But what I might do in the freezer is just use one of these probes and solder up. Right, now that I've got the probe to fit in the box nicely, I'm just going to put some mastic down here to stop any moisture getting into the foam. Now that we've got this on, we've masticed up the hole, we'll just put the cover back on. That sensor is now ready to control the fridge. Now we'll deal with the freezer. So I've just found out that after opening up the freezer, that our probe is only about 2.5 meters long in the standard kit, and because it goes all the way down to the bottom of the freezer, it's not long enough. So it's not a problem at all. What we'll do is pull the sensor back through, and what we're going to do is do a solder connection inside using the existing wiring, and then on the old sensors we're going to work out which is the wiring on one of these three, and then we'll solder up the blue for that cable, and we'll solder up the sensor at the other end and put the plug on. So let's get on with that. So we've got the original sensor here. We're going to replace the original sensor with our sensor, and we're going to solder connect. So let me just open this up. There's our existing sensor, so we'll just cut this. Now we need to work out which wires are actually going to the top, so we can actually solder a connection and also solder our new sensor to the bottom. So what we'll do now is put the connector onto a wire. So now we've got it connected at the bottom. We need to work out, set your meter to continuity, to work out which one of the wires is going to the freezer. So we know the blue is the common because it's joined constantly there, so we'll just check on these. No on number 1, yes on number 2. So number 2 is our wire that we need to cut out. And we need to find the blue that goes with that, which is that one. So basically all these now can be cut out of the way. So I'm just going to cut them out of the way. They're not needed, and we'll just trim that wire up. And we need to do a solder connection here now. Now we've soldered this connection, We'll just put the heat shrink over. So I've pre-soldered the wires already. So now we've got the heat shrink on. And the cover is okay to go back on, and that's done. Right, we know the blue is the neutral, the black is the feed to the fridge compressor, the brown is the feed coming to the circuit board, and the grey is the feed to the freezer. By leaving the red completely isolated here, we could cut it away, but I'll just leave it in the block tucked in, and that will give us an on-off on the light switch, and also capability of using the switch itself, so when you open the door the light comes on. So we're going to leave that completely as it is. We're going to cut these 4 wires out of the loom here. Just make it neat and tidy, tuck these out of the way, and a matter of fact, just to free up some of the wiring here, we're going to take, that's our feed, I'll cut this out completely, make a little bit more space in there, and put a new terminal on here. Okay, so we put a small terminal on that, just clean it up nicely. So that and that go to our on-off switch, and that go to our light switch itself. As I said, the grey goes to the compressor, so we'll put a terminal on this one. And on the black also we'll put a terminal on that. These must be normal size, not the small ones. Making sure you've got a good connection. And as I said, the black is the fridge. Now our blue and grey, we'll need to put a double on this because one is going to the one thermostat and the other is going to the other side. So I'm just going to put a joiner so I'm just going to use these crimp connectors because I do like them. They are very well thought out and they're reusable in case we make a wiring mistake or anything. So we'll put one blue in there, the other blue in there. We'll connect up our blue from the main block. So that's our two neutrals going to our thermostats. We need to do the same for the positive, live. 2, That's all done. Now we're ready to connect everything up, so we need to put our plastic plate back on. So we've got all the terminals ready to connect up. We're going to have the fridge on the right, the freezer on the left. I've run the wiring through, so first thing we'll do is connect up the probe. Then we'll connect the neutral, which is on terminal 3. Our live goes on to terminal 1. We'll do the same. I'm not connecting up the switch yet because I'm going to test it. So our blue goes on to terminal 3. And our brown goes on to terminal 2. We need to connect up our light switch. And now we need to run the cables across the top here. And I think I'll undo this bit of cable. Tape. Give us a bit more room. Run that across the top. That goes onto our 1 terminal. And I'm going to run this around the back. It's a slightly shorter cable. Just give us a little bit more length. I'm just going to rest that on there a second. Wiring neatly into the hole. I'm going to pull that sensor out again because I'm not happy with the wiring on that. Put it back in. And I think I'll pull the cable through at the back just to get some cable out. So our grey is ready to connect. I'll just leave that in there for the moment while we're doing a test. And that's all there as well. So, making sure we don't trap any wires. And that's on there. So now we're ready just to turn it on and double check everything. Okay, now we have our fridge freezers set up. Both of them fitted, they're both working correctly. We have now connected up the 2 thermostats to the compressors, and we've had it running now for approximately 15-16 hours. I'll show you on the graph in a minute how the unit is functioning. We've got the thermostats set up at a value, and they cycle a couple of degrees either side, which is all changeable in the manual. You just need to understand how these devices work. I'm going to do a detailed video on this, which is going to be about 15-20 minutes long, so you will need to watch this to understand what these are capable of doing. And you'll also understand on our graphing system that we have how you can actually make your fridge freezer very cost effective to run. Now, just to quickly show you, to change the thermostat, you need to press set and hold it down for about 3 seconds. Press it again will bring up the set level of the thermostat. We can then change the value to what we require it to be set at. So we'll set it at 4 degrees. Press set again, then you press the defrost symbol and it goes back. Now that is actually set at the temperature that I just set it at, so we can double check that by going into it again. Set. Press set again. As you can see, it was set up at 4 degrees. To come out, press the defrost. Okay, and it goes back to its normal mode. As I said, there's been more videos on how to set up the programming on these Elitech sensors, but I'm very happy with the graph on this, as you will see in a second, and this is all done, ready to go back to the customer. Okay, here we have the graph that I was promising you, and this is our sensor equipment which we set up on a fridge freezer after we've done a repair. This allows us to monitor the fridge freezer. Let me quickly explain. The green line that you can see is the fridge temperature. The yellow line, which you can see on this graph, is the freezer temperature. The blue is the wattage that is being consumed by the fridge freezer, and this shows us when things like one compressor is running here, two compressors are running here. The one compressor is basically 70 watt compressor, and the other compressor is a 70, so 270 is 140. And basically this allows me to look at the cycle of what's happening at any point in time during the last 16-17 hours, and we're able to monitor the fridge freezer so we can make sure that it's set up correctly and at basically the best cost efficient way of running the fridge freezer. As you can see here, we're very happy with our freezer temperature. We're cycling between -20 and 16 degrees roughly. But our fridge temperature needs to be changed as we're cycling. We've got too long a time running between compressor starts and stops, and as you can see, what happens is the fridge temperature rises up to about 9 degrees and then goes down to 2 degrees. But in our other video we will show you detailed instructions on how to set up these ECS digital controllers, and we'll be able to sharpen up the temperature in the fridge and have it running on a constant between 4 degrees and 5 degrees cycling. But overall these ECS-16s are absolutely brilliant, saved a load of money on the repair, and we're able to convert an old fridge freezer to a digital one without having to buy the manufacturer's genuine board. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember, all parts and temperature controllers can be bought at the website, and if you do find this video helpful, please look at the end of the video and you'll be able to donate to the website to help support the website and keep us going. Thanks very much indeed for watching this video. I hope this helped you fix your fridge freezer. Remember, at How to Repair, we not only make videos on fridge freezers, we make them on washing machine, tumble dryers, dishwashers, cookers, ovens, extractors and hobs. And if you did find this video helpful, remember you can always donate to the website, as that's what keeps us going and able to make these videos for you. We hope you found this video helpful. Please remember to buy the parts at the website. Thanks very much indeed for watching.